This tax refund season, Metro PCS has an offer so good you'll want to shout it from the mountaintops.
Switch to Metro PCS, and get two 4G LTE phones for free.
Switch to Metro PCS and get 2 free 4G LTE smartphones from brands like Samsung and LG. Only at Metro PCS. Limited time offer. Sales tax not included in phone price. After instant rebate. Coverage and services not available everywhere. See store for details and terms and conditions.
Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome to R.E.I.G.N Blog Talk Radio Show with your host and creator, Minister Annie Bell, the founder and executive director of Wealth Management Ministries Incorporated. We are providing talk therapy to survivors of child abuse, sex trafficking, and other traumas. Please enjoy the show. You had me down, afraid to let it out, shackle, to change the hurt, to feel the same. I'm more than a conqueror. I'm more than a victim. I rise, I win. The chains are broken. I reign, we reign, we reign, we reign. I reign, we reign together, together. I reign, we reign, we reign, we reign. I reign, we reign together, together.
Good evening, my friends. Thank you again for joining me tonight. Everyone out there, I know we are national and international, so I hope that you all can hear us clearly and get ready for a super fantastic show. Thank you for joining us tonight, my friends. I am Minister Annie Bell, the host and creator of R.E.I.G.N Blog Talk Radio Show, which is an outreach of Wealth Management Ministries Incorporated. We are endeavoring still to bring talk therapy to survivors of child abuse, sex trafficking, and other traumas, as well as providing awareness, prevention, and resources to the community. You know, I was reflecting back as I was preparing for this show, and I recall when I was young and being molested by my victimizer, and I had wished I had super-duper strength so I could fend off my attacker and scare him into ceasing his activity. Because I didn't have the super-duper strength that I wished for, I felt hopeless and helpless because of all the other things that were happening as well and the fear that had gripped me. But if I had known then that I had other innate superpowers that could have helped me, perhaps my scars wouldn't have been so deep or the abuse wouldn't have gone on for so long. So today we are going to talk about your superpowers. Yes, you have some. And I have author Dr. Kandra Albury with me today to do just that. And I'm going to call her Dr. K. So, Dr. K, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Minister Annie, for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you. I know that you are very busy. I see you very, very busy on Facebook, and you are doing a great work. And I'm going to allow you later to talk about some of the things that you are doing for the community, your wonderful books that you have already out there to help people and even kids. We're talking young kids who can talk about the powers that they have in the case that they get subjected or introduced to a possible predator. So I don't want to, take too long, so I want to go ahead and just jump right in. The question that I have first is, why are you personally so passionate about your work or your mission?
Well, I have to let you know that I, too, am a conqueror, just like you. As a child, I went through the abuse. I survived the abuse, and I've conquered the abuse. And I celebrate survivors in particular because, when you survive, that means you've come through this. And even though every day may not be a sunny day, we applaud the fact that you decided not to allow the abuse to define you. Now, I like to talk a little bit about being a conqueror, and this explains my passion because God really set me on this path. He changed the trajectory of my life simply because he saw that I had this courage to be able to not only conquer, but to show others how to prevent it. And so my passion really is being with kids and understanding that this is not only a natural side, but there's also a spiritual side. And so when I think about my passion and, you know, me putting on silly glasses and putting on the cape, you know, while all the silliness is there, what I'm doing is empowering kids. And whether they know it or not, they will know what to say and what to do if they're ever in a situation that makes them feel uncomfortable, and they will know to immediately activate their superpower. And a part of that superpower is their voice. The voice is a part of their superpower. Their voice lets them know that they are the priority, that their safety comes first. And so teaching kids early on that their superpower is courage, and they can activate it. And they do not have to have a cape in order to have courage, because courage is in their heart. And so just by planting these small seeds, I have the opportunity to create all of these other and raise up a remnant of courage ambassadors. And these kids will not have to suffer through potential abuse. And I always tell them to repeat after me, keep telling until someone listens. And so every Read Aloud, I've gotten ahead of myself, I'm so passionate, is all about teaching kids to use their voices, that their voices matter.
Wow. And if I had heard this when I was 6 and 9, my abuse got really severe right about 9 years of age. And if I had known that, first of all, that what he was saying was completely wrong, and if I had known that I should keep telling until somebody listens or somebody hears, that is so important, because a lot of times when they finally get up the courage to tell somebody, and that one person doesn't believe them, that shuts it down for years, if not a lifetime. And so that is a tremendous point. Yes. I loved also that you said the superpower is your voice. Everybody has a voice, and that we just have to activate it. Love it. And, you know, when I was contemplating, what's my superpower, when I was, you know, talking to you and getting ready for the show, and I was saying, I have a big mouth. And so I was like, is that a superpower, you know?
Absolutely.
So I am glad that you have affirmed yet another superpower, which is my voice. Now, how would you describe your journey, Dr. K?
I would have to, I'll use a couple of words. It's been very rewarding. It's been unpredictable. It's been surprising because so many doors have just opened because, you know, I was like, okay, you know, God, I'm going to write these books. But I had no clue, you know, how the journey would truly be. So it's been a blessing. It's been meaningful. It's been purposeful. There's been ups and there's been downs. But the one word that I have to use is it has truly transformed me as a person. Because, you know, I was thinking, I'll write these books, I'll be an author, and that'll be it. Not understanding that on the other side of being an author, you know, is the true role of ministry. And when God calls you to something. And so it has been a ministerial assignment that God has placed me here for such a time as this. And so I understand that is not my plan, but it's his plan and his will for my life. And so I understand the responsibility that comes along, you know, with, you know, contacting folks regarding Read Alouds. I always say when people say, we don't have a budget, you know, we can't afford you. And I tell them, well, if you have the kids, we'll make it work. To me, it's more about the kids receiving the message than it, because I already know that everything else will be taken care of.
That's right. And, sometimes I have to ask people to put their money where their faith is, and it is about ministry. And so even this show, we are a nonprofit, yet we still have to pay for airtime. But every year God has met our need. Every day. Every month when it's time for the bill, God has somehow met the need. And for the other expenses, because our faith is here, and we know our mission. We know what we're here to do, and so we're purposed, and we do that. We do have another show that we broadcast. It's called Recovery Just for Today. My husband actually does that one, and because we are here to minister. And what a avenue, what a medium to use to be able to go international. And you, the same way that you have your passion keeps you focused, and so I encourage you to continue to do that, and wait for God to provide make provision for your vision. Amen. And I want to speak that into your ministry as well right now, and speak it into your bosom right now as well. That there'll be times when things are discouraging, but in the end, God still has us, and we still just got to stay focused on what we're supposed to do. Now, I know there's some kids out there. I hope their parents have allowed their children to listen. For this show, I am keeping it rated PG. I know most of the time my show is mature simply because of the topics and how candid we get. But if you hadn't had a chance to get your children together, pull them into the parlor room, into the living room, wherever, in the dining room, and so that we can hear about this. They can hear about it and know, and like you said, Dr. K, get empowered. So do we all possess this superpower to help combat child abuse?
Absolutely. And I like to say that it isn't a one-size-fit-all. I may have a portion of faith and or courage, but my portion may not be the same portion as someone else. So what I have learned to celebrate is to celebrate people right where they are, whatever their superpower is. Your superpower, like you say, I have a big mouth. That's your superpower, is to shine light, is to expose. You do this in such a unique way that you boldly do that. And so a part of what you're doing is shining a light on a very important topic, on several important issues that create social ills in our society. So everyone does. Everyone has a superpower. Yeah. Some people may say, I can bake a cake with my eyes closed. They have a superpower for baking. Somebody may have a superpower for healing or prayer or faith or drawing. And this is what ministry in the marketplace truly is all about, is finding what it is that God has gifted you in your hands, in your heart, in your mind to do, and you take it out to the masses and you empower them in some kind of way. Because I remember, when I was a child, my grandmother used to bake. And so she would bake and she would cook, but it wasn't so much watching her with the cooking. It was the stories that she would tell as she prepared the meal. And so, and how she would tell me, how to, put certain things on the table. And even though I was watching her, she never used a measuring cup, but her measure of love outweighed anything that she could actually put in a cup. And so that was her ministry. She would bake and give things away to people in the community. Every Christmas she would wrap socks and give it away. And so her legacy, and when I think about my grandmother's legacy and my grandfather's legacy, their legacy was simple. It was love, and it was service to other people. And so I get it. I get it that service is a superpower. Loving, giving is a superpower. Forgiving is also a superpower. And so when we activate these superpowers in the earth, there's healing, there's love, there's empowerment. The captives are set free. So we're actually doing ministry in the marketplace through our superpowers.
I'm about to jump out my chair and start running around and flying around the room. This is awesome. Because what it does, like you said, and this is what I was hoping, is that there is empowerment and activation, but there is that realization that, hey, I am not powerless.
Yes.
In my hands, in my bosom, is the very thing that I have been given by the Almighty to do service, to help. And, you might be able, your grandmother might have been able to bake a cake for somebody who was about to go and fight a battle. So in her, there is a connection. And so if we would all come together, we could make a mighty fist to fight this battle against this perversion. And I so appreciate how you simplified it, broke it down, and made it fun, but still people are going to get the fact that I can do something about it. So that's powerful. Now, I have to take a quick break, and I'll be right back. But I'm going to take a quick one because I don't want to waste too much time. This is precious. Okay? So everybody stay seated. We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Curtis Stone, and this is Bilo's Cooking with Curtis for under $10. This month, I've chosen tomatoes from Bilo's fantastic fresh produce. So come on, click here and let's eat well for less.
Welcome back to R.E.I.G.N Blog Talk Radio Show with your host, Minister Annie Bell.
Well, we were just talking about the superpowers that everybody has. You have tuned into R.E.I.G.N Blog Talk Radio Show. I am Minister Annie Bell. Tonight we have a special guest who is here to help you get empowered, help you to activate and be a part of this movement to stop child abuse, to stop sex trafficking and other human trafficking as well, and traumas. Just, there are people who are being traumatized because of other people's actions, and we have power to stop it. We have power to slow down the progress, and I'm so excited to have Dr. K here with us. I call her Dr. K because I think it's so cute on her, but it's Dr. Kandra Albury who is here with us, and she is an author. She has her Ph.D. She has many books out there, and she's going to tell us all how we can get in touch with her and get some of these resources for our children. And so we want to continue our conversation about that. So now, you were mentioning that everybody has a superpower, and you were saying, for instance, my superpower, because I have that big mouth, I'd like to stop and really confront issues. And so you were saying that possibly I have that advocacy and that courage, the superpower of courage. Share with us what your superpower is.
Well, my superpower is courage, and the reason why I kind of came up with that is because typically when I was working in corporate America, there was always a situation that either myself or a coworker, was going through, and I always found myself in a position of asking God, I need more courage. I need to be able to deal with this. I need to, send some angels, go before me. I need to know what's going on. And so when I received the gift, this great gift of courage, I ended up, when I left corporate America after about 10 and a half years, I was able to bring this gift with me. And so I realize now that kids need courage. One of the characters in the book, Sassy Simone, actually has a big mouth. She's a part of one of the superheroes that's featured in all of the Feisty for children's book series. She wears the green cape with the green earrings, and she talks a lot. So I always tell kids that confident children always have courage, because a predator never preys on a confident child. But when you're confident, they won't come looking for you because you're going to tell. And so when I think about courage and how I ended up with this incredible, extraordinary gift of courage, that the Lord endowed me with, it was through different situations. And so now I use this to infiltrate the enemy's camp, to go in courageously in a fun, in an exciting, in a colorful way with some characters to do the work. And so it's definitely a courageous work, I should say.
Yes. And you're so, and God has gifted us, even in the same arena. You and I are trying to solve this epidemic that is plaguing not just our country but the world. And me, I'm kind of a rough shot. I'm kind of a bulldozer. I just come in, I'm slapping witches and stepping on devils. You, on the other hand, God has you coming in kind of like a stealth, and saying, I'm just talking, talking to the kids. I'm just talking to the kids. But really, you are arming them. Yes, absolutely. And you are empowering them. Oh, my gosh. Yes. That is awesome, and that is so exciting. So many people kept saying that I needed to get in touch with you through Facebook. People were inboxing me. You got to get in touch with, Kandra Albury, and so many different people. And so I was like, okay, I'm gonna try. And I tried to call you, and we kind of missed each other a little bit, but it's for such a time as this. And and I see why they are saying that we need to connect, because it's just awesome. Our missions are the same. We just have different paths to get it done. And I'm so glad that we can come together and not have strife, these silly jealousies and these silly things that we can do through our flesh, and that could actually stunt the work of God. But thank you for having even the courage to continue and to move forward, even with people who have like mission, and not feel like, hey, wait a minute, you're stepping over my toes, because certainly we need each other. Amen. So that is powerful. Now, what are I'm trying to get to the nitty-gritty of it, but what are some of the steps that an individual, I'm talking neighbors, parents, babysitters, mailman, whatever, what can they do to help prevent child abuse?
Well, I'm a Darkness to Light sexual abuse prevention training facilitator, and Darkness to Light is a nonprofit organization that trains everyday people. Every day. You don't even have to be affiliated with any organization, but their goal is to train everyday people on the Stewards of Children training, which is the 5 steps of sexual abuse prevention. And so the first step that they want everyday people to know, of course, is to know the facts. 90% of children know their abusers.
That's right.
1 in 6 girls will be sexually abused by the time she turns 18. 1 in 4 boys will be sexually abused by the time he turns 18. 30% of children are sexually abused by a family member. So these are people that children know. That's why you have to have these conversations with them and empower them early on. Secondly, they want you to talk about it. Make it to where it's a non-threatening conversation. But children understand that it's your role as a parent to protect me, not only to empower me, but if something happens, mom or dad or grandma, you're going to be my advocate. And not only that, when you talk to kids, they become advocates themselves, not only for themselves, but for their friends. If they learn that one of their friends are in trouble, they're more likely to tell. So talking about it, that's step number 2. Number 3 is minimize opportunities. That is making sure kids are never left alone in a one-on-one situation with an adult, particularly if it's in tutoring or piano lessons, or making sure churches actually have a policy. So, for instance, if there's a Sunday school class that's happening, but only little Johnny came for his class this day, well, you have a policy in place that no child will be left in a situation where it's just one-on-one child with adult. So that's minimizing opportunities, recognizing the signs, understanding what those physical manifestations of sexual abuse could be, those
Yes.
Those physical manifestations could be bedwetting, anxiety, a drop in their academic performance, signs of depression, sores around the mouth if it really gets to that place. But recognizing the signs is number 4. And then number 5, reacting responsibly. A lot of people say they don't know how to report abuse. Well, 911 always works because everyone, particularly, I'm not sure in Georgia, but in Florida, everyone is a mandated reporter. Years ago, it used to just be public service workers, such as police officers, firefighters, teachers. But now everyone is a mandated reporter. You have to report, and it's not based on facts. If you have a suspicion, you are to report that suspicion.
That's right. And that is, again, those things are very easy things that we could kind of, now we got to pay attention, I'm not saying it's, we do have to pay attention, but this is part of the program. Let's wake up, folks. Mm-hmm. There are predators that's right next door. There are predators who are teaching our kids. Predators are actually seeking out positions in churches.
Absolutely.
And in areas where they can have access to our children. Mm-hmm. So, and I also want to bring this to light because I was just fuming when I read that the homosexual, the LGBT law that has been passed through the United States, it had sparred and refueled groups of people who want it to, pedophiles, those who like to, adults who like to have sex with children, that's their preference.
Absolutely.
They want to make it legal to have sex with our kids. They also want to take it out of the DSM as a perversion or a disorder, but again, just as as a homosexual, that's their preference. And it's because once it has changed from a disorder to just their preference, their sexual preference, as long as they don't act out on it, they're saying it should be legal. But we know that that's just one step closer to the fire, which is to allow them to have legal rights to have sex with our kids. And they even have psychiatrists on board who is saying that children are not marred by adult-child sex. And I could literally just go off on that just alone because we know how harmful it is. We know the vestiges, not just from our personal life, but from the scores and millions of people who are trying to put their lives together from the past pain. So if anyone is out there listening and hearing this show, we are trying to tell you, hey, be aware. There's bills being sent to our Congress to try to make it legal to have sex with our babies. So wake up, everybody. This is a wake-up call. What age should we begin talking to our kids about this this particular epidemic?
I always say, in the books that are in my series, the sooner you start, the better, because a predator doesn't wait to start preying on your child and start that grooming process. They start when they feel good and ready. So why should we wait and decide, I'm going to wait till she's 7, or I'm going to wait till Johnny's 9. He'll be ready for this. Predators don't wait. They don't wait to start their grooming process, so why should you wait to have the conversation? We should have that conversation as soon as possible in a non-threatening way. Because truth be told, children listen with their hearts first and then with their ears. So if you're going to gain that trust of that child, if you want your child to trust anyone, it should start with the parent or the guardian first.
That's right.
And so I say as soon as possible, start talking about those don't you dare touch me, their zones, the mouth, the chest, what's in front, the bottom. Do not use code words for those things, those areas. Call them what they are. Call them what they are so that there is no confusion about anything when it comes to your child's don't you dare touch me, their zones. Another thing I wanted to also say, too, is when you think about grooming and how that grooming process starts, a predator predator will take as long as possible. He will take as long as he needs to take, or she will take as long as she wants to take before she makes that move. And that process, what that predator is really relying on is that trust. And that's how they do it. They win the trust of the parent, they win the trust of the guardian, then they win the trust of the child. And that's so we have to be very, very discerning of who is around our children and what their motives and purposes are. So minimizing those opportunities and continuing to have those conversations early on is what's going to be that first step to prevention.
And I completely agree with you. I do have to take another break, but while I'm running these commercials, I want you to think upon, well, what do we do when these children's predator are their parents? Okay? So I want to address that real quick, and then when I get back, I want you to talk about that, okay? Everybody, please stay tight. I'll be right back.
You use Tide Pods? Yeah. But I thought you were the queen of the pre-treat soak. Treat soak.
Those are fond memories, but those things are amazing. Once I saw what they did, I actually started to relax. Don't touch my things. Those little guys clean, brighten, and fight stains. So now I can focus on more pressing matters.
Like your container.
Isn't it beautiful?
Your sweet peppers aren't next to your hot peppers.
That's my Tide. What's yours?
Welcome back to R.E.I.G.N Blog Talk Radio Show with your host, Minister Annie Bell.
I told you I'll be right back. Welcome back to the R.E.I.G.N Blog Talk Radio Show. Again, I'm Minister Annie Bell, and we are part of the many outreaches of Wealth Management Ministries Incorporated, which is a 501c3 nonprofit organization. I am truly excited to tell you about R.E.I.G.N's first Mother and Daughter Luncheon. Wealth Management Ministries is sponsoring an event called Spiritual Sweeps, a Mother and Daughter Luncheon, and we will broadcast live at location on April 9th at 11 a.m. in Covington, Georgia. So we have author Sherilyn Bennett, who wrote the book, It's Time for a Village Meeting, Awakening Moms and Reclaiming Our Girls. It is imperative, ladies, moms, we have to heal first in order that we are able to not pass our traumas down to our kids so that we can rear them in emotionally, mentally, and spiritually healthy children. So this luncheon is kind of putting the light on that and giving the moms some tools to be able to heal from their traumas and really wake them up to say, hey, let's address your trauma first. Let's address what happened to you first. So I want to make sure that everyone knows about it. I want you to go on Eventbrite. It's Spiritually Sweet Moms Girls.eventbrite.com to purchase your ticket and or even our vendor booths that we have available. Those who can't be there and want to maybe sponsor a family, please, again, do so. Connect with me. We have other sponsorship packages available as well so that we can get the word out there and heal our moms. Now, before we left for the break, we were talking to Dr. Dr. Kandra Albury, about, what if the predator is the child's mother, father, grandparents, those that are supposed to, like you said, be our protectors.
Absolutely. I've had to deal with this situation personally, in my own family, and the abuse in itself is extremely traumatizing, but coupled by abuse with a family member, whether it's a parent or a guardian or, a grandmother or uncle, it's the ultimate betrayal. But the key to, I believe, recovery and healing and the journey to wholeness is to give the child the help that they need quickly and for the family to support the child and not re-victimize the child. And I believe a lot of times what happens with sexual abuse, period, there's the shame. The shame. There's still that stigma that's associated, why kids don't tell. It was my fault. They take on this burden, and that burden is too hard for any child to bear. But at the end of the day, the child's safety is the priority. And we've seen time and time again, where the predator or the one who's committing the act, be it a juvenile on child. I've heard of cases where an older child will sexually abuse a younger child, or it's an actual adult that's committing the abuse, where we have to not only decide what needs to be done, but what needs to be done that's best for the victim, and everything else playing out in the courts and the judicial system. And that's the part that a lot of people are afraid of. That's my family member, I can't do this. Well, I tell you one thing, a predator can abuse up to 400 children before one child will stand up and tell. So they operate and they are empowered through the silence of their victims. So when it is a parent or when it is a relative, the first thing to do is to help to prevent it. Follow those 5 steps. If it does happen, God forbid it does, you make sure that child is protected. They receive the support that they need through the children's advocacy centers, that they continue with therapy, that you continue to nurture that child and give that child the support that they need. Absolutely.
That's right. And, one thing that I also want to add to that is adults, moms, dads, whatever. A child normally does not, they are not oriented to sex. They are developed into sexual beings later when they, in their developmental timeline. But if a 5-year-old says that Uncle Bob made me put penis in my mouth, okay, well, hey, that needs you to believe that child, because they don't make up things like that. They don't know to make up things like that. And so unless they have been oriented to it. So, and I also want to say single moms with kids. And I'm not just saying girls. I'm talking boys, too, because they are victims. There are men out here who are looking for single women with kids so they have an arena with playmates already in hand. So be very vigilant. And I'm hyper vigilant. I know that, and that's part of my survivor responses that that I came with, my mechanisms, and I'm hyper vigilant about it. And so my kids, I'm constantly, okay, who's going to be where? And the first time that they spent the night with their cousin was last year, okay? It took me that long. And I was hyperventilating and was crying, and they were only there for one night. But it's we have to be that vigilant so that we can be the protector. Now, this question is also going to help aid in that if the parents are the victimizers as well. So my question is, let's think outside this proverbial box of the medical field and the schoolhouses where people should be trained to recognize possible child abuse. What other fields do you think, I'm talking about fields of, jobs and, professions that could use some training to recognize and report possible abuse? And the second part to that question is, what type, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Okay, I was just saying the second part to that is what type of training would be beneficial to them?
Absolutely. I pretty much support the model for Darkness to Light simply because everyday people can take part in the training. And that means it doesn't matter whether you are youth ministry, volunteer, whether you volunteer for Vacation Bible School, whether you work for Boy Scouts or Girl Scouts. I mean, they're looking for everyday people, and we know that everyday people have careers. And so what you're wanting, when I think about organizations, I really can't help but to think about the opportunities that exist pretty much in our houses of forgiveness, in our faith-based organizations, in our churches, because a lot of times, and it depends on the ministry itself. I've trained with some of the ministries. Some of them don't have a policy, a bathroom policy, or a policy, for teaching kids and minimizing opportunities. So I definitely, would say any and all youth-serving organizations. I will also encourage moms. There's an organization called MOPS. I think it's Moms of Preschoolers. And then there's MOPS for Teens, where every mom can take the class, the 2-hour training. It's a 2-hour training where you learn those 5 steps of prevention, how to report, to talk about it. And so I feel that it should include everyone. This training should be all-inclusive for every organization, whether they're youth serving or not. Because even just the other day, I went and met a mom who had her daughters out selling Girl Scout cookies. And so I was there, and I was just kind of watching them, and they're so innocent, and their cookies are so good. But you just never know, who's in an organization. And another myth is not always opposite sex abuse. Sometimes the abuse is same-sex on same-sex abuse. So when I say youth-serving organization on any level, if you serve youth in any level or any capacity, this training, Darkness to Light Stewards of Children, is phenomenal. And they're all over the nation.
Amen. And, I was thinking, what about these children whose parents are not even sending them to school? What could be their rescue? And I was thinking mailmen, they need to be trained to recognize, because they're coming to the houses. UPS, even service, home servicing, whether it's the air conditioner man or the plumber, they all need to be trained to be able to recognize, wait a minute, this child even looks like they're being abused. So, I want to advocate for that. I don't know if that's part of your little, your area that you're going to scour, but I think they need to be included, and offering some type of incentive for them to even take the class. But because it could save a life, it could save a life. So, in your opinion, and what is needed to stop this epidemic? For instance, are the reporting calls streamlined and efficient? And secondly, are the penalties stiff enough for the first-time offender? So what do you think is needed to stop this epidemic?
Having conversations. We need to start having conversations with our children, simply because it's in a conversation that your child will learn. Like I said earlier, they listen with their hearts first and then with their ears. And so when you begin to build that relationship at home with your child, they're more likely to come to you and tell you anything, whether it's abuse, whether it's anything that's happening with another kid. They will tell you everything because you put that foundation there. So it has to start with the conversations and removing that stigma of shame, of guilt, blame. Everyone wants to blame someone and blame themselves, but it has to start with having the conversation. As far as the penalties, for first-time offenders, I feel that anytime a child's life is put at stake, at risk, and a lot of people say, well, it's not murder. You kill a spirit.
Oh, yes.
And so,
that's right.
Oh, my gosh, you crush a spirit. And, I often say the abuse in my life was just a fragment of my life, and I still had the rest of this marathon to run. But some folks, if they don't get the help that they need, the professional help that they need, if they don't have the prayer life, and if they don't have a support system, that small portion of their lives will be the rest of their lives. They won't be able to move forward from that. So, those penalties should be very stiff. And in Florida, we don't have a statute of limitations. I'm not sure of other states, but I know in Florida you could have done it 20 years ago, and guess what? I can say that it happened, and you will be charged. And so it's states like Florida that, that champion these causes, and they put it into action by passing bills and making laws. And I feel that these laws are much needed and that these penalties should be stiffened because it impacts you for a long, long time. It impacts the victims. It impacts the families. And so when we say we're going to have a conversation about the abuse, but we also say we're not going to tolerate it on our watch and no one else's watch. This will not be tolerated. And we put these laws in place, then I believe that we'll see even more decrease in sexual abuse crimes or crimes against children, too.
I agree with you wholeheartedly, because if the penalties are not stiff enough, then to the predator, it is it's nothing but a blip on their screen. And like I said, these pedophiles are even trying to push to allow for child pornography to be legalized, so that they're saying, if I could at least watch it, it'll satiate. But we know that if you keep watching it, because that's what the word says, you keep watching it, you're going to think upon it, and then you're going to actually do it. The propensity will grow. And so we have to get involved in the judicial system. We have to get involved and speak out during these arenas so that we can get stiffer penalties. There was an article where a man raped his 3-year-old daughter and he got 3 months probation. What is that? That is not even a slap on the wrist. He raped her. He didn't just fondle, and I'm not saying, hey, just meaning that's minimal, but he literally penetrated the girl. And we know that the trauma is still as heavy, whether it's penetration or not, or sodomy or not, but there is another level. There is a whole nother can of worms that are opened when there is actual penetration. So, and he only got 3 months, and it was probation. And so, and I believe that the stiff penalties need to be concurrent. It needs to be and not only that, it needs to be across United States. If they can pass a law across all these United States about LGBT, certainly you can tell me that we can pass a law to save our children. That means that the stiff penalties is all around. So whether they do it in Florida or they do it in Georgia or in California, the penalty will be the same, and it's going to be stiff, and it's going to, make you regret your preference to go after our kids. So I'm going to go ahead and skip this last commercial because I just want to make sure that we're keeping this fluid. It's such a good conversation, and I believe everybody needs to hear. Tell our listeners some of the things that you are doing right now in the communities to further your mission.
Well, actually, I host a television show called Kids in Capes on African Network Television. The African Network Television actually broadcasts in more than 180 countries around the world. And so the show is kind of like a modern-day Mr. Rogers, but the whole underlying theme of the show is courage and just helping kids around the globe discover and activate their superpower courage immediately when someone makes them feel uncomfortable. So I'm in the studio every first and third Sunday with 8 incredible, when I tell you incredible kid-sized superheroes, these are the best kids ever. We get cape-ified every time we go in. That's the process of putting on your superhero cape. We bring in special guests, and they actually get to interview the guests. So that's one of the things that I'm doing right now, one of my projects, which I'm so excited about, because in 2014 I prayed for God to bless me with a global platform to be able to share the message of courage around the globe. And then, of course, African Network Television at the end of last year approached me about being a host for Kids in Capes on African Network Television, and it's been phenomenal. The ratings have been just steadily increasing, and their highest viewership, I believe, is in Russia right now, and I'm just ecstatic about that. You can actually watch Kids in Capes on Roku TV, Google TV, Fire TV, on their YouTube channel, their Facebook, as well as on their personal website, which is AfricanNetworkTelevision.org. I am also
I didn't know it was on Roku.
Yes, they're on Roku.
Wow.
You'll see us there soaring into Courageville. Yes.
Amen.
I also still host. It's phenomenal. That opportunity just is incredible, and it just goes to show you that God will grant you the desires of your heart. My background is in broadcast journalism, and God just opened the door for me to be able to do this at this juncture of my life. And, you know, a no, I often tell people, no doesn't mean no forever. It just may mean no for right now. You just never know what's going to be around the corner. And so that's exciting. I do a lot of interactive read-alouds. I try to do at least once a month where, you know, if a church calls me or a civic organization calls me or a school calls me, I pack up my capes, put them in the back of my SUV, I bring my music, and we soar. And I empower kids through read-alouds of Don't You Dare Touch Me There and N-O and I Mean No, Let's Say No to Drugs. I also teach some etiquette. Every now and then I get a request to do that. But I also train everyday stewards on the Darkness to Light Stewards of Children sexual abuse prevention training. And so my schedule's pretty busy, but I really enjoy the work that I do. I do. I really enjoy it. It doesn't seem like work. I thought people were just pulling my leg. That quote, you know, if you love what you do, you never work a day in your life. It's true. Really, it is. It's true. Right. Yes.
That's right. And if you pursue your passion, money will follow. So I'm definitely in agreement with that. And I did get a chance to see your show, and it is delightful. And and I started talking to my children about their private parts, and people can't touch it. You know, you can't touch it with your mouth, and they can't touch it with, you know, all of that conversation when they were starting about 1.5, when they were, you know, being able to talk and understand. And so I am, like I said, hyper vigilant, and I'm so glad that you are a proponent of that. Now, what are some of your future endeavors? I know you got a lot going on right now, so I don't know, you know, if it's just going to progress or if you have some other things that you're going to do.
Well, I do. One of my heart desires, my passion is to launch something called a mobile courage unit. And this is actually a bus that we will gut, and kids can actually go inside the bus, and there will be actual interactive activities. But the main purpose of the mobile courage unit is to be able to drive the bus up to a school, have a read-aloud under an awning for myself, and then just pack up. Because what I do now is like pack, and then I do like 4 read-alouds at one school. By the end of the read-aloud, my voice is gone, and I have to keep the same momentum. However, if I pull the bus in, I can bring more grades out, get it all done at one time, empower the kids, get the mascots off the bus, and then we have a wonderful time. We're on our way. So my long-term vision is to launch a mobile Kids in Capes Courage unit where I'll be able to travel across the country and empower kids with this message of courage. So that's one. The other is to be able to partner with the Boys and Girls Club across the country and place books into the hands of kids who attend every Boys and Girls Club in our nation. And so I'll be doing some fundraisers to purchase books, to be able to also purchase a curriculum. Each book is going to have a curriculum, a short curriculum where kids can actually understand. There'll be support materials, something very fun and engaging, nothing intimidating. So those are my 2 major projects, to do some fundraisers for both the Mobile Courage Unit and to get books into the hands of the Boys and Girls Clubs across our country.
I love it. I love it. You know, my kids and I are always talking about, my daughter especially always asks me, Mom, what kind of superpower did you want? I mean, she would love announcement. Again, we understand that sometimes even talking about it, it engages our healing process, okay? But hearing about other people's trauma sometimes also can, because we have PTSD, those who are survivors. We do have PTSD. And so it could sometimes activate that. So understanding that we offer prayer at the end of every show, prayer warriors will open up the lines at 9:30 tonight to Eastern tonight to pray with you. If there's anyone who needs to pray or needs to talk, I will be on there this evening. Call us 530-881-1212. Access code 225-184-078. You're not alone in this battle, okay? Please understand we have people here who will help you. Now, last question for you before we have to go. This has been such a rich and exciting and fun show, and I hate that it's coming to an end, but, that's c'est la vie, right? That's what happens. So can you tell our listeners how they can get in touch with you to book you for your advocacy, your training, your book reading, just everything that you're doing? How can they get in touch with you?
Absolutely. They can visit www.kandraalbury.org. There's no underscore or dash in that. It's all 2 A's right next to each other, Kandra Albury. And Kandra is just like Sandra, but with a K. I'm also on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. I have done some Periscope, but not a whole lot. But those are the main ways that people can find me. I do accept speaking engagements, and I love what I do. So be sure to check me out, again, on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, or by visiting KandraAlbury.org.
Amen. Wonderful. I love your excitement. I love your passion and your desire to help. I absolutely just adore the idea of, the superpower. Gosh, I wish I'd have thought of that myself. It is just so exciting. I love it. I love it. Yes. I affirm your courage, Kandra. I affirm your desire to not just survive, but to conquer and to thrive, and then to turn around and say, let me help someone else. One encouraging word or a Bible scripture that you can leave with us would be great.
Yes, that would be Isaiah 61, verse 3.
Yes.
I'm going to bring that up.
I love that.
Yes. And this is the King James Version. To appoint unto them that mourn in Zion, to give them beauty for ashes, the oil of joy for mourning, the garment of praise, that's my cape, for the spirit of heaviness, that they may be called trees of righteousness, the planting of the Lord, that he may be glorified.
Jesus, you are going to make me scream. This is awesome. I love that verse.
Yes.
It's one of the verses that touched my heart right when I got saved. Thank you so much for coming on my show. Thank you so much for connecting, taking time out to speak into our children and empowering everyone. Thank you so much. I hope to maybe do another show with you or do some work with you sometime in the future. So just whatever you think of, let me know.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
And Minister Annie, thank you.
You're very welcome. You are very welcome. Okay, everybody, it's time for us to get ready to pack up and leave, but I wanted to share my wisdom to R.E.I.G.N. Now, you have been empowered to help stop abuse. So now you just got to use it, okay? Just do it like Nike says. You have survived your abuse. Now survive your recovery. That is a quote from Olivia from Law and Order SVU, where it says, when she was talking to a survivor of child abuse. So we have to survive not only our past, but we got to make it to this recovery. We have a few seats open for our More Than a Conqueror Survivor support group. So join us. It is virtual, so location, your city, your state is not a factor because we can all join in. To make a donation or get in touch with me or my team, please go to www.wealthmngt.org or follow us on Facebook and Twitter at R.E.I.G.N, Stop Abuse and Fight Back. Everybody repeat after me. I reclaim my life. I excel at living. I illuminate the dark. I grow in Christ, and I nurture myself and others. Let's reign together with Christ. See you guys next Thursday. Bye-bye, everybody.